and gentlemen, welcome once again. It's the RoboWriter Podcast brought to you by Justified.com. It's your boy, RoboWriter. Glad to be back. It's been a while. Was going through some health issues, but I'm glad to be back, ready to roll. Going solo dolo today. Nick will be back next week. And let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the NBA. The Cavs and Warriors did battle this week. And I don't know if you can call it a battle. The Cavs got walloped. But many basketball heads wanted to ask, did it matter? Did it matter at all? My opinion, not in the slightest. Yeah, the Cavs got beat down 126-91. You're talking about 35 points. But at the end of the day, the Cavs proved their point in the team's first meeting this season, in which they won that game, which they won the game again thanks to the Warriors' miscues at the end of the game, maybe some questionable calls, and terrific play by Kyrie Irving, the fadeaway jumper, to seal the deal. That game to them was way more important. That put them in the mindset of when we want to play, when we want to give all-out effort, when we want to go out there and prove a point and know that we can beat somebody, we can beat them. That's what they proved to themselves in the first game. That second game didn't matter at all to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It would have been just as good as they had just sat there and not played anybody. But you wouldn't want to give the Warriors that type of mental help by being able to say, oh yeah, well, they beat them and nobody played, they're a bunch of cowards, and so on and so forth. So, it just lets me know that the Cavaliers didn't really care about that game. They were more focused on they had already got a win earlier in the season. They proved their point, and when it matters, and when they want to put their foot down, they know they can beat the Warriors when they want to beat the Warriors. That being said, I am early in the season saying that it's probably a safe bet that the Cavaliers will repeat as NBA champions, especially with the new addition of Kyle Korver, sent over for some draft picks, giving LeBron just one more shooter, as if this guy who traditionally clogs the lane and kicks out the shooters needs one more target to throw to out there in the perimeter. He now has Kyle Korver, which should make a lot of change and should just make them that much more dangerous as far as what you think you can do to them defensively when you give help to LeBron James. Now, from basketball, we switch over to some hardball. The MLB, today they will be voting on the MLB Hall of Famers on the 2017 ballot. Now, there was a lot of people on that ballot that people think on stats alone should be in. And there should be no question. But haven't gotten in because of either steroids or character flaws. So I asked you, what's the most important? Is it just the numbers? I believe so. I believe if you're going to judge a Hall of Fame, it's off stats. I say the same thing in the NFL, and I hate all the BS and the crap they're putting T.O. through. His numbers say he's a Hall of Famer. He should be in the Hall of Fame. It should be no different from baseball, although the baseball writers are a very peculiar bunch. They seem to be from the hey, you get off my lawn school of journalism where everything has to be sanctified and perfect. It is what it is. If you're holding a guy out because of steroids and PEDs, you got to come to grips with the fact that happened in baseball. It happened. You cannot erase maybe a 15, 20-year period in the game and say that didn't happen as long as we just not let anybody from that era in. We can pretend it never happened. It doesn't work that way. Those games were played. Those stats were made. Those monumental highlights were made. Those career-defining moments were made. You got to give those players their credence. the Barry Bonds, the Roger Clemens of the world should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, as for the character guys, one of the big names is Curt Schilling. I particularly don't care for Curt Schilling, even though he was a former Philly. But stats-wise, numbers-wise, when it comes to big games, when it comes to when it matters, he was on point. He won a lot of games. He's a multiple-time world champion. He would have to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't like the guy, but the stats are what they are. It is not the Hall of Great Character. It's the Hall of Fame. This is a stats achievement. This is a numbers achievement. I mean, you want to have guys that uphold the integrity in the game, and that's a plus. I get it. But this is about numbers. This is about concrete evidence. And those guys have it. And they need to be in the Hall. It's just a fact. It makes no sense to not have certain people in your Hall of Fame, whether it be the MLB or the NFL, because you don't like them. You don't particularly care for the way they played the game. I'll harken back to football and TO. The stats say he's anywhere from 2 to 4, pick your preference, wide receivers of all time, numbers-wise. There is no reason why he shouldn't have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Who gives a damn what happened on the teams he was with as far as the social skills and the being a great teammate and the team obliterator moniker he garnered, which I thought was unfair because some of those teams were just dysfunctional to begin with before he even got there. But my thing is, he got a lot of heat that he didn't deserve. But the numbers say he should be in. If the numbers say you should be in, you should be in. There's only one argument where I can say where somebody is not in, and it's because of a broken rule that you can fight me on. I think Pete Rose should be in the MLB Hall of Fame. They're not going to let Pete Rose in. That rule is what it is. It's plastered on the clubhouse wall. You can't gamble. He gambled. He's out. I think it's a travesty that the man with the most hits in MLB history is not in the Hall of Fame. But he gambled. They have a legitimate gripe. He broke the rule. He knowingly broke the rule. It is what it is. Other than that, character aside, performance enhancing aside, if they put up the numbers, they deserve to be in. It's just as simple as that. When we come back, we're going to talk a little about the NFL playoffs. I'll give my predictions. I'll also give my thoughts on the NFL playoffs in general and how they're put together and the seeding and how I think that affects the outcome of some of these games and what happens. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. The RoboWriter Podcast is brought to you by Justify AI. Justify AI is an interactive watchdog website for customers to write a review or register a complaint against companies and services of all types. Consumers can self-report their experiences with companies, public agencies, private businesses, and private organizations. Justify AI is a community designed to improve the quality of customer service provided by the suppliers of goods and services to the local, state, national, and world economic operations. We believe that every company and organization should be held accountable for their interactions with the public. For more information, please visit justifyi.com or visit Justify on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL playoffs are in full swing. Right now, we're in the conference championship round. We had some okay divisional playoffs games and some terrible ones. The terrible ones took place between the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots, which was a blowout. And then we had another blowout in the Atlanta game. But the Chiefs and the Steelers came to play, as well did the Cowboys and the Packers when it was all said and done. And speaking of those Packers, they are looking mighty good. I gotta say, if I had to, I hold off on that prediction because I want to preface my comments and talk about why you had some good games and some terrible games and why that is. I believe it's because of the seeding and the way the seeding works in the NFL playoff structure. You got 1 through 6, and it's by record mainly, but whoever wins their division automatically gets a home playoff game, regardless of what record they win their division with, and you automatically get the higher seed. I believe that is the main reason and the main culprit that gives you these terrible games. Because if you look at it to where the 1 and 2 seeds are concerned, especially the 1 seed, the fact that it's set up this way grants an extremely higher probability that the 1 or 2 seed advances to the conference championship round. You have a team that'll win their division with 9 to 10, sometimes maybe even 8, not even 8 or 7 wins will win their division. Garner a home playoff game. Play against a team that maybe have won 11, 12 games, but just was in a tough division where that wasn't enough to win the division. That 12 game winning team may be better most days, but they lose because they just so happen to be playing on the road. So now you get that 4 seed, the Houston Texans type team, that 4 seed, a division winner that's won 9 games in the regular season, who by default gets to play the 1 seed and almost guarantees them a spot in the conference championship round. It's absolutely preposterous. If you literally said, if you win your division, you make the playoffs, I have no problem with that. But you don't automatically get a home playoff game. If you reseed it 1 through 6, with record being the only qualifier, you'll find some matchups to be much fairer. If not, you're going to keep getting what you're getting, which is the Patriots, after getting a bye, playing some of the most terrible playoff games I've seen. The Texans, or anybody from the AFC South, had no business being in the playoffs. But it is the nature of the beast. It is what it is. It's their division. You win the division, you get in. But no way should they have gotten a home playoff game. Just think, and I know they say ifs and buts or candy and nuts, just think if the Raiders quarterbacks hadn't gotten hurt, and they had Derek Carr, and Miami had Ryan Tannehill, if it was seeded 1 through 6 the way I propose, Pittsburgh would have played Houston. Pittsburgh would have won that game. Still would have had to play Kansas City. But the 4 and 5 matchup would have been Oakland versus Miami. And I truly believe the winner of that game would have been a much harder test for the Patriots than the Houston Texans. You got to be kidding me. But I digress. What they are, the seedings are what they are, the teams left are who they are, and I'm left to muddle through this and come out with a prediction, an inference, a hypothesis, an educated guess, if you will, to what's going to happen and how's it all going to shake out. We got 2 games coming up this weekend. The NFC Championship game. The Packers and the Atlanta Falcons. We got the AFC Championship game. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben, going against Tom Terrific and the New England Patriots. The AFC Championship game, I got to go with my head over my heart. My head says that the Patriots will probably win this game. Although I won't be rooting for them, my head says they'll probably win this game. Somewhere along the lines of a 24-21, 24-20 type of score. Close scoring, not a whole bunch of points, but enough to keep it exciting. Because I just can't see it. History has told me that the Steelers just don't beat the Patriots in the playoffs. Not since Big Ben has been the quarterback and Tom Brady's been there in New England. Just doesn't happen. Every time they meet in the playoffs, it seems the Steelers get shellacked. I believe Big Ben is 2-5 against Brady all time in the postseason. You can't have it. It's absolutely terrible. Thus, if you go with your head, you gotta say the Patriots are probably gonna win that game. That being said, we switch over to the NFC. And you had the Packers and the Falcons. Much as I like the Falcons and I like the offense and Matt Ryan, what have you done for me lately, Matt Ryan? There's one season it'll be garbage, Matt Ryan. The next season it'll be Matty Ice. He's looking good this season. He has to turn into who I like to call Matty Lice, the guy that keeps you scratching your head. So, he's looking good and all of that, but the Packers have Aaron Rodgers. And it's just so hard to bet against them from what we've seen week in and week out for the last 8-9 weeks, the last 7 or 8 seasons, man. It's just that when he gets hot like this, when he's making the throws that he's making, one of them last Sunday just was incredible. Here's the call from Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the pass he made last week that set up the game-winning field goal.
Rodgers spins to his left. Comes underneath, and the pass is incomplete, out of bounds. Now they say complete. The official, the second one came in and overruled the other, Jared Cook, and with 3 seconds left, the Packers are going to have a chance to win it. That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. There's only one way to describe it. Unbelievable. That's what he does. That's what the Falcons are up against. That's what Dan Quinn's defense is up against. The defense is pretty good. It's okay. And it's come on stronger as the season has progressed, which is what you need from a defense going into the playoffs. But I cannot root against Aaron Rodgers. So I'm picking the Packers. I'm picking the Packers in the shootout. Something along almost the same lines as we saw in the Cowboys game. I'm going 35-31 Packers. And that means I'm seeing the Packers and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And this is vitally important. Vitally important to the NFL, to football fans, and historians of the game. That this matchup take place. And I'll tell you, right after our next break, why, if Aaron Rodgers wins the Super Bowl this year, and he does it against Tom Brady, he has no choice but to go down as the greatest quarterback we have ever seen. The RoboWriter Podcast is brought to you by Justify. Justify is an interactive watchdog website for customers to write a review or register a complaint against companies and services of all types. Consumers can self-report their experiences with companies, public agencies, private businesses, and private organizations. Justify is a community designed to improve the quality of customer service provided by the suppliers of goods and services to the local, state, national, and world economic operations. We believe that every company and organization should be held accountable for their interactions with the public. For more information, please visit justifyi.com or visit justifyi on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We're back. It's the RoboWriter Podcast. I'm your boy Rob Whitney, the RoboWriter. And we're talking football and we're talking Aaron Rodgers. And I'm going to tell you why. If Aaron Rodgers can get past the Atlanta Falcons, and he does in fact play Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, he can go down as the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. It's because there are many categories in which go into a great quarterback. And some people seem to overlook this. We look at certain things, we look at, it's got to be the accomplishments. Or it's got to be the technique, the mental aspect of it. It's got to be the mechanics. That's why I believe Aaron Rodgers is the best we've ever seen. Because he combines all of your categories at the highest level across the board. Not across the board, but relative to anyone else who's played the position. You can list your all-time greats. You can look at your Joe Montanas. He'll fit in a few categories. Granted, he's one of the best when it comes to accomplishments. And I guess you could put accomplishments in the production, the stat category. Accomplishments, 4 Super Bowls. When he's a 3-time MVP. But when you look at his numbers, they're pedestrian. They're rather average in the regular season. Joe Montana is not in the top 10 in yards or touchdowns. It's pretty average and pretty pedestrian when you look at the actual stats. Now, what you do in crunch time, it matters. What you do when championships are on the line, it matters. That makes him one of the most successful quarterbacks of all time. But there aren't many times people have said, oh, wow, how did he make that throw? Or, wow, Montana really outthought him on that play. That's not, his thing is being consistent and being cool under pressure and not cracking. And not being to make the key mistake in the most important parts. That's Joe Montana. Tom Brady. Kind of cut out of that same cloth. I'll go even further with Tom Brady where he does have a little bit of the mental acumen to where he doesn't make the mistake. But also the mechanics are up there. The fact that he gets the ball out quick. The release is very fast. He doesn't give you time to think or time to defend. But at the same time, can you honestly say when you watch Patriots games or you watch Tom Brady throw that a lot of these receivers aren't wide open? I mean, I don't recall all the times I've heard broadcasters or announcers say, well, Brady really threaded the needle on that one. Or he put it in the perfect position. Every time I watch a Patriots game, I see a lot of guys running drag routes, running shallow ends, and things that right across the middle of the field, your dink and dunks, where these people are open. They're wide open. Now, he's a little bit better than your average system quarterback. We don't want to use that title. God knows. I don't want the hate mail from Boston to Japan that'll come if I call Tom Brady a system quarterback. But let's face it. There's a particular program put in mind in New England. It clearly works no matter who's under center. But he's just a little bit better at not making the mistake. That you can't teach. That is inbred. It's in your head. It's something you got to have. That clock in your head is something you got to have. Not everybody has it. And Tom Brady is good in that aspect. But at the end of the day, even he himself has said that there's things Aaron Rodgers can do that he just can't do mechanically. From a pure arm talent perspective, he's not in his class. He is not in Aaron Rodgers' class. This leads me to another guy a lot of people throw, and I'm a big fan of this guy, Peyton Manning. They put in that stratosphere of great quarterbacks. And I love Peyton Manning. I believe he's the most cerebral of all the quarterbacks we've had. The football IQ, the football acumen is top-notch with Peyton Manning. I never heard anybody say Peyton Manning had a cannon. I've never seen anybody rave about Peyton Manning's arm talent. He's the guy that gives you the stats, the gaudy numbers, and he's got the rings to back it up. I always say, with a quarterback, arm talent plus IQ will usually translate to stats. And what Peyton Manning has is average arm talent with a mega IQ that translated to a lot of gaudy stats. And number one across the board in all the statistical categories that really matter. But, like I said, his arm talent isn't anywhere near Aaron Rodgers. His accuracy isn't anywhere near Aaron Rodgers. All those quarterbacks, they rank high on the list of touchdown to interception ratio. Tom Brady's even number 2. Aaron Rodgers is number 1. At a little over 4 touchdowns for every interception. He is nearly an entire point and a half ahead of Tom Brady, who's number 2. At a little over 3 touchdowns per interception. That is outstanding when you actually look in the detail of what that number means. He averages an extra touchdown more per time people throw an interception than Tom Brady does. That is the type of thing that shows you how accurate or how few mistakes Aaron Rodgers makes. That's why he's different than the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings. Joe Montana. I've seen Joe Montana have horrible games where he's thrown several interceptions. There were games in the late 80s at the time where it wasn't the 49ers year and the Giants had their number or the Bears had their number. And you see the result. But Aaron Rodgers, he combines all of those gifts you want to have in a quarterback at such a high level in each category that with a little more hardware, the stats will come. As long as his longevity is there, the stats will come. That he's undoubtedly going to go down as the best. And if he can beat Tom Brady, he can beat the Golden Boy, reach the plateau of multiple Super Bowls, because I believe multiple Super Bowls is all you really need to stake your claim as being an all-time great. One, almost any quarterback can get one. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have one that aren't as good as some that have any. I mean, Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl trophy. Dan Marino doesn't. Dan Marino's another one that's always thrown out when you talk about your all-time greats. Again, heck of an arm. He's got the arm talent. He may be the only one that can rival Aaron Rodgers in arm talent. And has the stats. But he's held back by the accomplishments. Only one Super Bowl appearance. A loss in which he got beat down. Now, he doesn't play defense, but they got beat down. And they never made it back. Was it his fault? No. I don't think the defenses were subpar in Miami. Barely a running game to speak of. But those are the things that go in. If you're going to be across the board, what you need to make an all-time great quarterback, you got to have all of these. You can't leave one thing out. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers, number 1 all-time touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history. Aaron Rodgers, without question, arm talent, number 1 in NFL history. Can make every single throw. He is the guy that can make it in the trash can from 50 yards. He's that guy. He's the guy who can throw it 30 yards on a rope. He's that guy. Not to mention the mobility. Have you ever seen a pocket passer who's able to move like that in the pocket, not just be able to run? We don't mean mobility as just being able to run, because he can run if need be, but to be able to move in the pocket, buy himself time. Big Ben is great at this. Or the Big Ben of old. Big Ben now, injuries have caught up, doesn't do it as much. But Aaron Rodgers, one of the best, if not the best, at avoiding the rush in the pocket and creating plays and still being able to make a play. Keeping the play alive. So when you combine the stats, which he's going to have, they're accumulating as he goes. The milestones, the accomplishments. He has 1 Super Bowl. He can possibly have another after this season. The actual arm talent. People dismay talent from greatness. Like, there are people that are highly and extremely more talented than people that have been ultra successful. The two don't always coincide. Jay Cutler, for Christ's sakes, has some of the best arm talent we've seen. And Jay Cutler ain't never winning nothing. Why? Because he lacks that mental prowess. He's a basket case. And on the field, that translates to not getting much done. So, that is my reasoning for why Aaron Rodgers, if he can pull it off and beat Tom Brady, he will go down as the best quarterback to have ever done it. Now, before I get off the football topic, I am going to give you my ranking, my top 5. Number 1, tentatively to me, is Aaron Rodgers at this point. As a matter of fact, no. I'll give it a caveat. Until he wins that game, until it's solidified that it's Patriots, Packers, and Aaron Rodgers wins, I'll say right now as it stands, Tom Brady may be your number 1. Aaron Rodgers is 1A. 2, Joe Montana. 3, Peyton Manning. 4, John Elway. And 5, Brett Favre. Favre because you can't outdo the numbers and you can't outdo the success, the MVPs, all that. He mixes a lot of that up. He also had the arm. When you encompass all those, you just got to add him in. However, you like the guy or you don't like the guy, you can't deny what he's done. So that will run up my 5. Obviously, if, like I said, if Aaron Rodgers can pull it off, he becomes my new number 1, which means the list shifts down and Brett Favre is no longer on there, and it would go as follows. Aaron Rodgers 1, Tom Brady 2, Joe Montana 3, Peyton Manning 4, John Elway 5. That's the way the list would go if Aaron Rodgers can pull it off. But if he gets into a duel with Brady and Brady wins, and it's clearly that Brady outplayed him, then you got to rethink it. I got to rethink it. I would owe Tom Brady, as much as I would hate it, that much respect, that much credit to believe what my old eyes have shown me. But I truly believe that if Aaron Rodgers is crowned Super Bowl champion, even more so if it's against the New England Patriots and he outplays Tom Brady, he will be best quarterback of all time. And it shouldn't be questioned. That's a done deal. You got to stop thinking about the success, the accolades, the awards, the championships. It's not all about that. It's about the totality of the circumstance. And when you think of that, you really can't deny what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Before we get into the good look, bad look countdown, we're going to take a dip into the mailbag. Our first comment comes from Ed Torrance from Philly, a good friend of the program. He's asking some questions about the MLB Hall of Fame and how there seems to be a bit of blatant hypocrisy in that you can keep out two players with obvious steroid histories, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, yet there's a pretty good chance that some other players have gotten in and may get in, having also implications of steroid use. Mainly this year with Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, who did test positive. He got caught, and yet is right on the cusp of maybe making the final ballot. Not to mention the Mike Piazzas of the world who did get in, and quite a few other names that have been linked to steroids at one time or another that people seem to just fly by and give the benefit of the doubt. Yet the Bondses and the Clemens of the world, you just can't forgive. And many would say, and I want to thank Ed for the comment, many would say that Bonds and Clemens would have been Hall of Famers way before their alleged use. There's people, plenty. I mean, this is almost a verified fact that Bonds' Pittsburgh career alone puts him in the Hall. Before he even got to San Francisco, his Pittsburgh career alone puts him in the Hall. Roger Clemens the same. His early career puts him in the Hall. This goes back to my earlier comment. You got to look at these stats. Regardless of how you may feel about how they were attained, the stats are what they are. I know in baseball it's hard to differentiate. You think just because someone's on steroids, that's an automatic reason why they hit all the home runs that they had the stats they had. Yeah, it's a part of it. The steroids make you stronger. They make the ball able to go farther. So hits that used to be doubles or triples are now home runs. But that does nothing for your vision. For you to be able to see these pitches. Barry Bonds is one of the best vision hitters there's ever been. Spotting the off-speed pitch. Spotting the fastball. That can't be duplicated. That was evident in his early career. When he won a slew of MVPs. Batting titles. So, I gotta side with one of my listeners that some of it seems to be blatant hypocrisy. I don't understand it. I don't see what the difference is between a Pudge Rodriguez. Maybe he's more likable than a Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds never tried to make any friends with the media. I understand that. But everybody should be treated different. Clearly, Barry Bonds' stats are way better than Ivan Rodriguez, even though Pudge, to me, is a Hall of Famer. There should be no contestant. If you're going to let one in, you got to let the other in. If you're that close to letting Pudge in, you got to be as close to letting Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens or somebody of that ilk into the Hall of Fame. Without further ado, though, it's the good look, bad look countdown. First up, the beloved Pittsburgh Steelers live videos. Not live videos in general, but what was the tip of the iceberg with the live video they shot after their win against Kansas City. It was loaded with expletives from players and the coach, Mike Tomlin. Obviously, this was not a good look. And we always got to remember what Kurt Herm has told us. What you say, Coach? Say it again, Coach. Exactly. Just don't do it. Sometimes you don't press send. But it's hard with these live videos. That's why I got a problem with them. Because when it's live, you ain't got a control of that send. Everybody's going to see it as it happens. And once that happens, they can share it, and then it's all over the entire world. It's viral. And it's the worst part about these live videos. You don't have that opportunity to not press send, to not post it. Once you decide to go live, that's it. You're live and everybody can see it. Normally, before you post a video, you had to record that video first, then decide whether you were going to send it. And now, with the advent of the live video, people have lost their damn minds. They're all over the place. So that's why it's a bad look. It's a bad look for all involved. It's a super bad look for Mike Tomlin. I'm glad he stepped up to the plate and decided that there were going to be some punishments and that it was unwarranted, uncalled for, or it shouldn't have been recorded. AB, Antonio Brown, has come forward, said it shouldn't have been recorded. It was wrong. Kudos for that. You got to learn from your mistakes, but it's a bad look. It shouldn't happen. Good look, bad look. Topic number 2. It's distractions. And more importantly, whether or not how these distractions are made. They're not a good look because they can be prevented. If you think about it first, in the case of the New York Giants and the yacht club, if they thought about it first, they thought about going on that trip first, and the fact that if this gets out and we lose like they lost, we ain't going to never hear the end of it. You could have thought about that first, but they didn't think about that. News broke today that they invited the defensive backs to go with them. Smart enough for the defensive backs, they declined. But these are the type of distractions that even though they have nothing to do with one another, what happened on that boat, them taking that trip, has nothing to do with the way they played on the field. You cannot do things that you know are going to get highlighted later if you don't perform. Those are the type of distractions you have to limit. Some distractions you can't help. But that, the yacht club, the live video from the Steelers are ones that you can do without, ones you can prevent, ones that don't need to happen. Those are the type of distractions that come back to bite you in the butt. We're going to hear all about this video even more if the Steelers don't get a gun on Sunday. But that's it for me. I've been the RoboWriter, your boy Rob Whitney. Once again, I'm so grateful to be back. I'd like to thank everybody for all their support. We'll see you next week. Nick and Neek will be back in the building. We're going to do what we do. As always, be good. God bless.